The president to give his final State of the Union. Good to have you back with us here on Ed Schultz News and Commentary. President Obama has been the most obstructed president in the history of the country. And you have to wonder if the next president is going to have to put up with the ideological stonewalling that he's had to put up with. Who knows? Who knows? But we do know this, that there are some real extreme differences in Washington when it comes to the basics, the budget, health care, jobs, education, the lot, really, energy independence, entitlements, what are we going to do, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. Alert you to an organization that is active right now and has been since 2010. It's nolabels.org. And what they've been doing is going around trying to get the presidential hopefuls on board to sign a promise that they would work on the issues that they believe are vital. And there's really 4 areas. One of them is job creation. We could use a jobs bill, no doubt. They've got a goal set to create millions of jobs over a certain amount of time. What are we going to do about the spiraling federal budget? Do we keep continuing on with raising the debt ceiling? What about energy independence? What does that really mean and how to get there? And, of course, dealing with entitlements, which is Social Security. Joining us is former Senator Joe Lieberman. He is a co-chair of No Labels, and we're great to have him with us. Joe, how are you?
Hey, Ed, I'm good. Thanks. Great to be with you, and thanks for that intro to what No Labels is about.
Well, is it accurate, sir?
Yeah, it's accurate. I mean, this group is really about not just about what the candidates say they're going to do, what they're going to do, but how they're going to do it. And it's really an attempt to try to stop what you correctly describe as all obstruction and partisanship that made it hard to get anything done in recent years in Washington. So we're asking all the candidates for president and for Congress, make a promise that if you get elected, right within the first 30 days, we're asking the presidential candidates, call in the bipartisan leadership of Congress, pick out one of these areas that you just described, jobs, budget, Social Security, energy, and start a negotiating process, just like Reagan and O'Neill did and Clinton and Gingrich did, to get something done, because the country really can't take another 4 or 8 years in which most of the time in Washington is spent just with parties or ideologies screaming at each other.
Former Senator Joe Lieberman with us here on Ed Schultz News and Commentary. The other co-chair is John Huntsman,
right,
who was in the Bush administration and ran as a Republican the last time around in 2012. These two gentlemen are working on this. Senator, you know what it's like in Washington. You know the obstruction, the political divide, and let's just go right to entitlements. Look at Social Security. The Republicans want to privatize it. The Democrats will never give in on that. Where's the middle ground on that?
Well, I don't think Congress will ever really privatize it, but you're right. I mean, this is it. You got to sit down at a table and compromise. And I always say you don't have to compromise your principles, but you got to decide if you want to get anything done that you can't ask for 100% on every issue, or you'll end up with 0%. So No Labels doesn't take a position on how to secure Social Security and Medicare for out 75 years. We're just saying, based on polling we did last year, that this is something the American people want the government to do. And if both sides just stay in their own camps and throw rocks at each other, nothing's ever going to get...
NoLabels.org is the organization. We're visiting with former Senator Joe Lieberman. He's one of the co-chairs, along with John Huntsman. Now, this group has managed to get a number of candidates on board that want to be president. One of them, Democrat Martin O'Malley, Republicans Ben Carson, Chris Christie, John Kasich, Rand Paul, and Donald Trump. They have taken the promise that they will focus in on these 4 areas that NoLabels.org is requesting them to do. Where's the Bush name in all of this? And where's Clinton and where's Sanders? Senator, what about that?
Hey, Ed, those are really good questions. And I'm puzzled because we worked really hard to frame these goals in terms that were not controversial, that they were goals, on the whole theory that what do you do in a business, a family, state government happens a lot. You set goals and then you sit down and negotiate how you're going to achieve as much of the goal as you can. And we thought we did that here. So I'm grateful that 6 of the 15 still standing presidential candidates made the promise. And frankly, I'm puzzled about the other 9, but we're not giving up on them. We're asking our people here in New Hampshire and in Iowa to go to the events, ask the presidential candidates if they'd sign the problem solvers promise of no labels, and if they don't, ask them why not, because I don't think there's a good answer to that question.
I don't think you're going to get any fight on job creation.
Right.
I think a lot of the obstruction on job creation is they just didn't want to see Obama succeed on any front when it came to that. In return, look, we've had 60-plus months of private sector job growth, and the last month looked pretty good, too.
Yeah.
But what do you make of Donald Trump? He's kind of a rebel, an independent thinker, and yet you got him on board on this. How hard was that? And he being the front runner, I'm curious to that.
No, it's interesting, Ed, because we basically did the same outreach to every one of the campaigns, and I must say we were sort of fascinated by who said yes so far and who hasn't yet said yes. So, the Trump campaign just got the same material everybody else did, and they just said, yeah, he'll sign the problem solver's promise. That's what he considers himself to be, a problem solver, even though other people may say other things based on things he's said in the campaign. But we try to make this as objective as we could, because we said it's just one piece of information that the voters will have to consider as they decide who to vote for. Obviously, you'll look at a lot of other things, like particular positions candidates take or the way they campaign, but at least you know that 6 of the presidential candidates, including Donald Trump, today said we're prepared to promise that first 30 days in office, we're going to call the bipartisan leadership of Congress in, and we're going to try to get something done on these 4 big national goals.
And the federal budget, that is another issue that they may work on it, but there are stark differences between the power brokers in Washington on what to do on it. It's a constant threat of a shutdown. It's a constant threat of who's not supporting the military as that budget continues to go on. Right. We have these continuing budget resolutions. I mean, it seems like this will go on forever. There's not enough money in the Treasury. What do you make of it?
Yeah, no, I agree, and it's really irresponsible, and it's what drives so much of America crazy. And again, you go back, not so far, go back to President Clinton and Speaker Gingrich. They really looked like they were so far apart, and yet they sat down, they agreed on some goals, and they negotiated with a lot of other people in Congress compromises that got adopted. And, at the end of the Clinton years, to just talk about the issue we're talking about, our budget was actually in surplus. Pretty amazing.
Okay.
All right, Ed.
Senator Joe Lieberman, good to have you with us. All the best to you.
My friend, you too. God bless.
Appreciate it. NoLabels.org. So some are on board, most are not. But this is early in the process. Now let me give you some straight talk on this, folks. The federal budget, the power brokers in Washington are never going to agree on a federal budget, because part of the balancing the federal budget is going after Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. It is a benchmark of the progressive movement in America, and the American people don't want to mess with. And no matter how you look at it, more of an ideologue, you're going to find the guy from Wisconsin, Paul Ryan, who's now Speaker of the House, as opposed to John Boehner. Ryan's more of an ideologue. He wants to privatize Social Security more than Boehner ever did. And what about energy independence? Does that mean that we're going to do something about the oil companies parking their money offshore and not paying taxes? Are we going to allow Exxon to continue on not to pay a damn dime worth of federal tax? Where's the middle ground on that? That's why Bernie Sanders hasn't signed on. That's why Hillary Clinton hasn't signed on. Martin O'Malley has signed on only because he wants to get some pub because he's sitting down at 5%. What president doesn't make a promise going into office to try to do something on behalf of the American people? Then we get to entitlements. Entitlements are going to be protected by the Democrats. To the last dog standing, it's going to happen. And as far as job creation is concerned, that might take a little bit of money, and the Republicans certainly don't want to do any of that because they would want massive tax breaks for corporations who, by the way, are still allowed to park their money offshore. So NoLabels.org, they can get people to sign on to make a promise, and then after 30 days, whoever's elected president can say, well, I talked to them, and this is where they stand on it. This, to me, respectfully, is a joke. This is Ed Schultz, News and Commentary. We're back tomorrow.